Hello, history students, and welcome to our flipped instructional session on Unit 9, Lesson 1, Classically Different Ways of Life, where we're going to be taking a look at what is classic civilization, and we're going to focus in kind of on Athens and Sparta, and really take a look at Sparta in this lesson. So we're going to start by going online, and remember that when we start our unit, we're going to have a unit introduction. So we're going to start with our unit introduction, a closer look at classical Greece. So the Greeks valued serious thought and individual effort, and the results were remarkable. The Greeks gave us philosophy, art, theater, and the concept of democracy. So what made such accomplishments possible? Climate, terrain, war, individuals, and even diseases played a role in all of this. So if any of these factors had been any different, history might have taken a completely different course. So now we'll move on to the second slide, and this is where we are going to find our lesson resources. So don't forget to always click on those lesson resources. Take a look at the objectives. What are we going to focus in on and learn as we're completing this lesson? This is what you need to take notes on, and you can get these in the notes guides that you have. Also, don't forget that student guide. This is going to tell you what you need to read for each lesson and so forth. So go ahead and open up that notes guides as you're beginning your lesson. We'll go back to our slide here. What is a classical civilization? What legacy did classical civilizations leave to the modern world? The Greeks and Romans who followed them built classical civilizations. In ancient Greece, two city-states stand out, Athens and Sparta. Their people shared language, religion, and great pride in being Greek, but in other ways they could not have been more different. So what exactly does classical mean? And I want you to take note that in Lesson 1, you're taking a look at what is classical and what does that mean? Because on your teacher grade assignment, you're going to refer back to this. And so make sure you're taking good notes and answer this question well now so that when you get to the end of the unit, you'll have those notes ready for you to go and you can answer those questions. So people often say that's a classic when talking about a piece of music or a book. What do they mean? But when historians refer to the classical world, what do they mean? Did you think of Greece and Rome? If you did, why? And so we're going to follow the directions in the student guide to find out a little bit more about the classical world. And the first thing that our student guide tells us to do is to read. So as you read the introduction to part 3, what's so classic about the classical world? And that's pages 279 to 283. You're going to complete the reading guide as you read. When you've finished, you can take a look at the answers in the answer key. Make sure that you have them all correct. If not, go ahead and compare those and change them. And then you're going to continue reading part 3, chapter 1, from the beginning to Athena's city, so pages 285 to 289. So you're going to read 279 to 289 today. As you read, list at least 3 characteristics or features that pulled the Greek city-states together and 3 that pulled them apart. So you've got your reading guide to help you out as you read that introduction, and then don't forget to list those unifying characteristics and dividing characteristics. We're also going to focus in when we're reading on a Spartan life. Make sure you know everything that there is to know about what it was like to live life as a Spartan. How is yours different from how the Spartans lived? And do you think you would have survived as a Spartan? And there's going to be an activity in here. What is a Spartan life? That is going to be a chart, and you're going to fill that out as you read the second portion of your reading. I also want to point out, as we have our student guide up, activity 2, you're going to read chapter 1, Athena City, pages 290 to 295. So really you're reading all the way from 285 to not 285, you start on 279, so 279 to 295. So this lesson has a lot of information, so you want to make sure that you take your time and take good notes as you're going through this. So I do want to start out as you're beginning this lesson. You're going to start on page 279, and what's so classic about the classical world? And so as you look at your reading guide, how does the text define classical civilizations? And that's one thing I just want to take a minute to look at together. And so I'm going to actually start on page 279. Reading, I love that book. It's a classic. And so what do we mean when we say that a work of literature is a classic? And really we mean that it has lasting value, that writing was so superb, or the story so compelling, or the theme so universal, or all those things at once, that the book is going to merit attention for generations. Kind of like the Iliad and the Odyssey, for example. That is a classic. Or you may think of some other works by Shakespeare, Jane Austen, or Mark Twain. Those are classics, right? They're going to last through time. And so when we think about this in terms of civilization, in history we might mean something a little bit different when we use the term classic or classical. In history, those terms refer to a time and place. Classical civilization refers to the civilization of ancient Greek and Rome between 500 BC and 500 AD. These two Mediterranean civilizations stretched thousands of miles and flourished for nearly 1,000 years. So classical civilization is also classic in the sense of timeless. So if we think of it in terms of lasting value, it kind of makes that value last, right? If we think of it as timeless. So the ideas and the institutions from ancient Greece and Rome have continued to influence people for more than 2,000 years, especially in the West. And if you take a minute and think about some of the classical Greece and Rome traces around us, I bet you could think of a lot. They're going to go on to tell us. So classical roots of modern language. Our language has derived from the Greek and Roman languages. And then the drama of it all. Our literature and books and drama have derived from ancient Greece and Rome. Science and math have derived from ancient Greece and Rome. And so we can see all of these things. Government as well. So you're going to read all about that. And how we can see traces of Greece and Rome, ancient Greece and Rome, in our modern times in the West. And so that's what we kind of mean when we think about classical. It's timeless. It's lasted through the ages. So when you get to that teacher grade assignment and you get to this question, you'll be really prepared to answer that question. So in what areas of present-day life can you most easily see influences of Greek and Rome? And then name 2 examples of Greek and Roman influence in the ideas surrounding the development of the United States. So all of that you're going to find on 279 to 283. And then I just want to point in, you're going to jump into page 285 and take a look at 2 Greek city-states. I love looking at Athens and Sparta, and so I think you're going to enjoy reading about these as well. And so you're going to kind of, now that we've defined that Greece and Rome have lasting value, and we're going to see traces of that as we continue to study our history in this course, now we're going to jump into ancient Greece and Rome and the specifics of those 2 places and just how amazing they really were. So you're going to read 285, you're going to read on 286 the warrior state of Sparta. You're going to learn how a Spartan warrior grew up. What was it like to be a boy at 7 years old, leaving your home and going out into the cold in the uncomfortable military barracks to train to be a warrior? And then how was it different in Athens? And so you're going to jump into all of that. So you're going to read all the way over to 295, I believe is what we said. And don't forget to fill out the rest of your worksheet. So unifying characteristics and dividing characteristics. And then you have your chart to fill out about a Spartan life. What was it like in Sparta, and what is it like in modern American society? How are these different? And that just really makes you think about Sparta and what it was like in Sparta, and then comparing it to the modern culture just really makes you start to think. And then you'll end up, would you have survived or thrived as a civilian of Sparta? So there's no right or wrong answer here. Just explain your reason, and then you'll go into the quiz after you've completed all of your worksheets and all of your reading. If you have any questions, let me know. And I will see you on the flip side. So look for your flip follow-up session in your Class Connect schedule. Attend that session to carry out this topic and practice a little bit further. And at the end of that session, we'll have help labs, so you can always attend help labs for extra support. Have fun, and I'll see you soon.